Thanks for tuning in to KT Garage. This is part 71 of the SuperHog build. So this morning it was beautiful, 65 degrees. I spent a couple hours outside doing more body work to the hood. I'll show you that in a minute. I went back inside because it's getting warmer. It's time to go inside and do something indoors. So for the rest of the day, I'll focus on getting that transmission tunnel cover. You can see it's sitting right there. So I'm gonna get that done today, hopefully get it back in the truck, and then I get to work on something else on the truck. You can see I'm still working on the passenger side. I block sand with that long sander to make sure everything is nice and straight. So identify some low spot. You can see where I use a marker to mark it up. So I'm gonna have to fill it up with Bondo again, and then just redo it. This is my least favorite part of the build. Is just to do the body work, but it's gotta be done right. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some Bondo on there, and then next weekend I'm gonna go back and sand it back down again. So it's gonna be a long process trying to get this hood done, but it does look a lot better than before. I know you can't see it very well with the Bondo, but it's just one more coat of Bondo, and I think we're good for paint on this side. Now that other side is a different story. So it's got a ton of Bondo on it already. Gotta sand that down. So from the last episode, you can see that I already got all the wiring done in the inside where all the gauge are, and all of this are coming out with this like red color wire. So I have to identify which one they are. I wrote it all down. So all of this is gonna get hooked up to this connector right here. Got this from Amazon, and it got a ton of different wires in here. So it got 6 wires on each side. So, and there's 2 rows, so there's 12 different wires that I can hook it up and have it disconnected. I probably won't need all 12. Looking at this Bondo down here, it looked like it's less than 12, so I think I'm good. Now the problem is, this has these are having different color on the one row, but if you tipped it over, the other row has the identical color. So it's gonna get very confusing when I mark it up. So what I did was I say S1 means side 1, and then S2 for side 2. So when I mark up the wire, I can say red goes somewhere, and this red is on the S2. So I can identify which side is on. So I'm gonna go ahead and make all the electrical connections, and I'll show you guys what that looked like. So I'm gonna show you a really cool way of making a connection that is watertight. So this is something that you can buy a whole bunch of them, and different ones for different wire sizes. So this lead in the middle, this one you apply heat to it, it's gonna shrink and it's gonna form a bond. So it's more like bracing. So first you want to make up your 2 wires. So make sure you twist them up and get them to connect real well, and then you push it in like so. So now you put that lead right in the middle where the wires are, and then you're gonna heat it up with the heat gun. So you can see now this forming a real nice and tight connection with watertight on both sides. This is a really great way of making a wiring connection. You want it to last it for a long time. This is what you need to do. Okay, so I just made a connection to the negative side of all this connection. There's only one ground or negative, and then all of this is signal, or some of them actually is powering to different things, but the negative one goes to, because we have 2 black, I need to know which side. So this is S2, that's side 2. So I'm gonna walk over to my book where I label everything here. So I'm gonna go and write, so I'm looking for S2, so S2 black. So I'm gonna write ground. So now I know like where all this connection goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish everything up and then fill up this table. And this is the layout on my gauges. So it'll be P1, P2, P3 for pressure, temperature, and then all this stuff is here. So I'm gonna keep record of all of that so I know where everything goes. Okay, so here's some updates. I got all this connectors hooked up. You can see these are really nice connections, watertight. It's gonna last many, many years. So now this is all done. You can see that I got the stereo hookup in here as well. So now when I hook that up to the power, the stereo should come on. Now this is for the speaker. I haven't hooked it up yet, so at least we're gonna power on the stereo and get everything working. So this is the entire thing is supporting 12 volt system. So what I'm gonna have to do next is putting a transformer so I can convert the 24 volts into 12 volts. So that's gonna have to come up next, because otherwise this whole system is not gonna work. Okay, so one thing left to do on this tonneau cover is the hookup for this USB from the stereo. So I want to make it look more professional looking. So what I did was I used one of these, the exact same one that you see here, just to power things up. This has no connection to the stereo. So this one I wanted to get it feed through. So I disassemble this, get the circuit board out. Then my plan is I already cut a hole here, so I'm gonna feed it through here and then bolt in the back. So, and then I'm gonna glue it in. So when it's finished, you can see that this is gonna sit in here with this gate closed. And then I'm gonna install it. So from the outside, you really can't tell that it's been glued in from the inside. And then when you open this up, and then you can stick your USB cable here, and then you can connect to your iPhone or Android or whatever to use the CarPlay. So I'm gonna go ahead and include this, and then we'll get it installed in. Okay, so first I use the glue gun, and I put a pretty good layer of glue back here so no one's gonna see it. So it doesn't have to be perfect behind it. Now I'm gonna go in and use the permanent glue on the inside, and I'm using this plastic bonder. This is really good for high strength holding wood plastic. So I'm just mixing a batch right now. I'm gonna wait for it to become a little tacky, and then I just going to get a bunch of them in here to hold it permanently. Okay, I'm about to get this installed. You see back here, the glues are back here, and then the permanent epoxy is in the front of it, which you really can't see. And then let me see what I put this gate up. There you go. So that's what the inside looked like. You can see the epoxy is right in there, and it's very stable, so it's gonna be just fine. I'll go ahead and get this bolted. We'll be done. So here it is. That's for the Apple Play or CarPlay, and then this is for power. There's two in here. All right, I'm done with this area. Looking pretty good. I'm gonna need power source 12 volts. So what I'm gonna do is convert 24 volts to 12 volts. And it's super simple. There's only 3 connections. So you can input a 24 and ground it, and then you get a 12 coming out of this transformer. So it's really nice. I'm gonna go find a place to put this, just so I can get 12 volts source, and then we can start hooking up the stereo and everything else that's running off, the gauges that are running off from 12 volts. So I found a really good spot for the converter. You can see that place is right here. It's right in front of the passenger seat. And it's gonna look like that, nice and clean. Now I ran out of electrical connectors, so I ordered one, or a whole set. It come in Amazon, but it's not gonna get here until a little bit later. So I'm missing one. So basically this is really simple. It's just you ground it, and then you come in with a 24, and it gives you a 12. That's all it is. So now, what I also did was putting a disconnect right here, and let me see if I can get under and show you guys. So this disconnect is disconnect the entire system, electrical system, and you can rotate it. Let me see here. You can rotate it this way to turn the vehicle on, and then turn it off. So I do have another one up where the battery is, but I want to be able to do this without having to open up the hood. So there it is. And then you can see that there's one that comes in, this one comes in, and then it came out in two different places. So that one goes to the car, 24 volt. This one is 24, but it's go to the converter to convert into 12 volts. Looking at the passenger side on the engine bay, you can see that those are the two wires that comes in. So we already came out with a 12 volts and the negative. I'm waiting for the power cable to come in with a 24. So I got a 24 volt to come all the way up to this, and this is a solenoid. So what I want to do is I want to use a solenoid to connect the two 24 volts power. So, and it's feeding with electrical connection. So this is a ignition switch. So when you have the ignition on, it's going to turn the power on, because this is going to go to the converter, and I don't want the converter to be powered when the ignition is not on. So when the ignition is on, and then it's in this 24 volt signal, and then it connects the two wires. So now it's in electrical 24 volt to the converter here, which I need to finish. So that's how the electrical works. And then if you connect the converter all the time, it's going to drain your battery, because it does draw some power even though you don't use it. Okay, so looking at the inside of where the tonneau cover is. So this is the 12 volt line that came from the converter, and you can see that I pass it through. This is a 100 amp circuit breaker. So, and then it goes to this wire here, which comes to this connector that we're gonna use it to power the stereo. We're gonna power the gauges and whatever else that needs the 12 volts. And then you can see that I use a 0 gauge for the 12 volt to come up here. And my plan is I'm gonna put a stereo system, a high powered stereo system that's gonna locate like in that pocket there. I'm gonna probably put a 15-inch subwoofer or something like that with an amplifier sitting in the back. So that is why I need that high power cable. So for right now, I'm just gonna run that 14 gauge, just enough to power the stereo, the head unit, and a couple of gauges. So that's that. And then I got all this electrical connections ready for the RPM gauge. And there's two signal wires, and there's a positive and negative. So that's there. So I'm done with the tonneau cover. So when I'm done with electrical hookup, I'm just gonna hook it up to this, and then I'm pretty much finished. Everything is done wiring in here. Well, it's Sunday afternoon. I'm getting super tired, and I felt like I got a lot done this weekend. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it quit for this weekend. We'll have to continue next weekend. And so pretty much the electrical system is done. I just need to wait for that Amazon shipment to come in, and then I'll go ahead and finish up that converter hookup. And then next week I'll put the tonneau cover back on, hook up everything, and see if everything works the way that I intended. And then I'm gonna start working on the lights. It'll be headlights, signal lights, things like that. We'll get that hooked up. And then at that point, I think I probably can start getting the hood done. The weather should cool down a little bit. So get the hood done, and then we pretty much can go get the car registered so I can start driving down the road. Appreciate you guys tuning in to KT Garage. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.